In tonight's headlines, authorities say New Lucky House in Jordan has been dragging its feet on fire safety improvement works, one day after a blaze killed 5 people. US President Joe Biden treats his Japanese counterpart to a swanky state dinner ahead of a pivotal trilateral summit with the Philippines. And hopes of an imminent interest rate cut are dashed after inflation in the United States came in stronger than expected in March.
After spending the night away, residents returned to New Lucky House in Jordan, still reeling from the fire which took away the lives of 5 people. A police cordon remained in the vicinity, and anyone who wished to head inside to pick up essential items must first sign up at a registration desk. The safety record of the mixed-use tower is now under heavy scrutiny after authorities discovered modifications to dozens of flats leased as subdivided homes. The exact cause of the fire remains the subject of an ongoing probe. Investigators have initially ruled out foul play, while there are reports suggesting the blaze started when a cigarette butt lit up a pile of rubbish bags. Fire Services Divisional Commander Lam Kin Kwan said the high number of casualties could be blamed on substandard fire protection equipment. Several fire doors were also damaged, potentially explaining why the thick smoke had spread to upper floors so quickly. But Lam insisted his colleagues did not spot any immediate danger during the most recent inspection in February. The building's department confirmed that it had ordered the block to carry out fire safety improvement works in 2008, but the owner's corporation has yet to comply with the order. The inferno also injured over 40 people, 23 of which remained at Kwang Wah, Queen Elizabeth, and Princess Margaret hospitals. 7 of them are in critical condition as of 5 p.m., while 3 others are classified as serious. The 5 casualties have been transferred to Fushan Public Mortuary. It is believed they included 2 elderly men with Hong Kong identity cards, as well as a young couple from Indonesia. With the building now in shambles, residents faced a long wait before they can return home. Many have sought shelter at a nearby community center on Public Square Street, where free food and mattresses were provided. Some hostels are also offering free accommodation, but most residents said there is no place like home. Janice Yu, Cable News. The Diploma of Secondary Education Chinese language exams were condensed into one day this year, after 2 more components, listening and integrated skills, were scrapped. Oral exams were already cancelled last year, leaving reading and writing skills as the remaining elements of the core subject.
我比較鍾意考 speaking 同埋 listening 嘅喺中文課，因為呢兩科都比較容易攞分咯。
Some students felt the streamlined format was more difficult.
做起嚟都會可能講額外小心咁咯。
While others said there is now less room for error. But candidates no longer have to be in Hong Kong to take the test, which decides who gets a place at the city's universities. About 110 students sat the exam at 2 venues in Shenzhen and Guangzhou today. Both schools offer the same curriculum as their Hong Kong counterparts.
当时一听到说可以在本校参加那个高考，真的比中500万6合彩那个彩票还开心。
This parent said she was overjoyed with the arrangement because her son can tackle the important exam under a familiar environment. Hong Kong authorities confirmed plans to introduce more exam venues across the Greater Bay Area next year. On a separate note, some invigilators in Hong Kong reported a glitch for a new electronic check-in system meant to streamline their workflow. They were unable to sign into the system, which provides real-time attendance records at a specific venue. That meant invigilators had to manually verify each candidate's identity. Janice Yu, Cable News.
After a day of exchanging pleasantries with Joe Biden, Fumio Kishida stepped foot in the residence of the U.S. president. The Japanese Prime Minister was invited to the White House for a glamorous state dinner, which featured a star-studded guest list.
Thank you again for being here.
Biden reiterated that the United States and Japan may be divided by distance, but are always committed to democracy and freedom and a dignity for all.
And today, without question, our alliance is literally stronger than it has ever been. Please join me in raising your glass, and I don't have a glass. There you go.
Kishida's U.S. visit is the first by a Japanese leader in 9 years.
Cheers. Cheers. Turn it over to you, Mr. Prime Minister.
In a show of respect, Kishida addressed the crowd in English. He even invoked a touchstone of American culture by quoting Star Trek.
Let me conclude with a line from Star Trek, which you all know. To boldly go where no one has gone before.
Following a closed-door meeting earlier in the day, the two leaders pledged to continue furthering their mutual interest in the face of global challenges. The two sides struck 70 pacts on defense cooperation, including a joint command structure, and develop a new air missile defense network along with Australia. Kishida and Biden will be joined by Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Washington for the first trilateral summit between the nations. Many see their alliance as a countermeasure to the growing influence of China in the Indo-Pacific. But Biden insisted that it was purely defensive and not aimed at any one nation or a threat to the region. Anna Chan, Cable News.
Inflation in the United States accelerated at a faster than expected pace last month, dashing hopes that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates in the near future. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, rose for a second straight month to 3.5% on an annual basis. The reading is at its highest since September and outran market forecasts of 3.4%. Compared to the previous month, prices rose 0.4%, still exceeding forecasts of 0.3%. Meanwhile, annual core inflation held steady at 3.8%, the same as in the previous month. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has repeatedly said that rate cuts will only come when authorities are confident that inflation is steadily returning to levels of around 2%. Minutes from its latest Federal Open Market Committee meeting in March confirmed that almost all officials agreed that borrowing costs could be lowered at some point this year. While officials remained highly attentive to inflation risks, they also anticipated some unevenness in monthly inflation readings. While a narrow majority of policymakers had predicted at least 3 rate cuts this year, the latest CPI data has poured cold water on optimism that the first reduction may take place in June. Bess Leung, Cable News. China's consumer inflation remained mild last month, raising concerns about deflationary pressures that could further hamper recovery efforts for the world's second-largest economy. The The Consumer Price Index edged up 0.1% year-on-year in March. That's down from a rise of 0.7% in the previous month and missed market forecasts of a 0.4% growth. The headline index was down 1% from February, reversing a 3-month uptrend and representing the largest slump in 4 years. The notable slowdown came after the effects from the Lunar New Year waned. Non-food inflation eased. The cost of education moderated sharply, while transport costs fell further. Excluding food and energy prices, core CPI recorded a 0.6% uptick. It moderated from a 1.2% rise in February, which was the fastest in more than 2 years. Elsewhere, China's Producer Price Index dropped for the 18th consecutive month. It was down 2.8% in March, compared with a 2.7% decline in February. With the latest figures teetering on the edge of deflation, there are now growing concerns whether China can meet its inflation target of 3% this year, with or without more policy support.